Why has the will of the majority for peaceful coexistence been insufficient in stopping extremists who are bent on resorting to violence and bloodshed at any cost?
Mm-hmm. Well, in any society, you'll find that the people who scream the loudest are heard the loudest. People that use the most extreme acts, violent acts, are heard the loudest. That exists here in the United States and very much so in Israel and Palestine. But what's interesting is that although these people are heard the loudest, they're actually a very small minority in Israel and Palestine. What we're working to do is to work with this silent majority. There are many, many thousands, millions on both sides that are committed to joint principles. They're committed to an end to conflict, committed to an end to violence, committed to this creation of an independent Palestinian state that lives in peace next to a secure Israel. And we're working to reframe the fact that these extremists are able to hijack, to speak on behalf of all Israelis, to speak on behalf of all Palestinians. We're building this human infrastructure of moderate majority on both sides to reject violent acts, to reject acts that incite the other side, to reject acts that are antithetical to progress and antithetical to an end to conflict.
How does OneVoice go about finding common ground between Jews and Palestinians? Mm-hmm. And how do you deal with extremists on both sides?
Mm-hmm. We're working to highlight common ground that already exists between Israelis and Palestinians, and also working to build greater common ground that doesn't yet exist. As I was saying before, there is a perception that Israelis and Palestinians are completely, they're monolithic identities, everyone feels the same way, and one group hates another group. This is not the reality, and OneVoice is working to provide a different reality. When we were founded in 2002, we did a series of surveys of about 140,000 Israelis and Palestinians from all over: Israel, West Bank, Gaza, the refugee communities from the kibbutzim, the collective Jewish villages across Israel, from the urban centers, from the rural areas, trying to get a very broad representative cross-sample of Israeli and Palestinian society. And we did find that consensus doesn't yet exist on all of these issues. I don't have to tell you that. But what we did find was that there is a very significant point of overlap between both of these groups. Groups, as I said, are committed to an end to conflict, which for Israelis and Palestinians is generally quite obvious. But to us who live outside of the region and read newspapers and watch television, watch the news, this might be surprising to us to hear that the vast majority are committed to an end to conflict, just want to live in peace and security, have jobs, prosper on both sides, and have their own states. OneVoice believes that extremism, violent extremism, is somebody that denies the humanity of the other side and will oftentimes resort to violence to achieve these objectives. And what we're working to do is to sideline these minority elements in Israeli and Palestinian society, to build this human infrastructure of young leaders who are committed to these goals and will reject within their own society these people that seek to derail the process. We don't think of this group as a self-contained group. No one will ever enter, no one will ever leave. Extremism is, I think, an ill that maybe affects all of us a little bit. We might all have a little piece of extreme thought in our own heads, but what we're working to do is to tamp that down and to create a much more positive way of engaging in the process. And we're looking to do that in Israel and in Palestine.